Hi guys, it's John from John's Corner. Thanks for watching this video. Today, I'm going to show you how a jet engine works. Let's get started. Okay, so jet engines were first used really used during World War II, where Germany and Britain, Japan, America, and Russia started using them in their fighter jets. The first to use them were Germans, and then the British came after, but none of the other countries used them in battle. Like, they had prototypes, but they weren't used. So over here I'm going to talk about a couple different types of jet engines. We have a turbojet, a turbofan, and a turboprop or turboshaft engine. Okay, so first we have the turbojet. So the way this works is you have your air coming in through the air inlet. So you have your intake. So coming in through the inlet. Then you have your compression, where all these fan blades called turbines, they compress the air, and they also heat up the air, because when air gets compressed, it heats up. So the air is moving down here, getting compressed, and it's heating up, and then it goes through this tube called a diffuser, where it loses some of that heat, and then it goes into the combustion chambers, where fuel is sprayed and ignited. So fuel is sprayed into it, and then the air and fuel mixture is ignited, which speeds up the air and increases the heat. Then it goes through here and hits up against these power turbines. Now, the reason they're called power turbines is when they spin the shaft, which spins the compression turbines. So that's why they're called the power turbines. And after that, it just exits as exhaust. Now, some turbojet engines, mostly on fighter aircraft, they have more fuel nozzles over here. And they will spray raw fuel into here, and the air that exits is hot enough to ignite the fuel, which will add an extra boost. That's why on some aircraft you see there's fire coming out of the engines. Normal turbojets do not have fire, but if you have an afterburner, which is what they're called, they will create fire because they're igniting more fuel into the air. Next, we have a turbofan. These are highly developed engines that are mostly used in airliners, and they're meant to be very fuel efficient. But they function sort of the same as a turbojet. So the main big difference that you can see is that there's a giant fan here on the front. You've probably seen that if you've been on an airliner. So the weird thing about this is that on a turbojet you have all the gases which create thrust. On a turbofan, it's this big fan that creates most of the thrust. The exhaust air creates very little. So again, recap: you have your fan, and then you have your compressors all here. So your air comes in, and it is compressed by these compressors. Then it goes into the diffuser, gets combusted, and it blows up against these power turbines, which spin these compressors, and the big fan. So the reason because there's a lot more turbines here, because there's also this big fan that they have to move. So that's most of the energy from the air is being used to move this fan and these compressors. That's why there's not that much energy in this excess air. Okay, next we have turboprop or a turboshaft engine. So these work almost exactly the same as a turbojet engine, as in you have your air coming through the front, then it gets compressed and heated up, then it goes into the diffuser, which cools it down a little bit and takes away some of the energy. Then it gets compressed then it gets combusted in the combustion chamber, and it rams up against these power turbines. So you have a power turbine for the compressor, and you have a power turbine for a propeller or a helicopter rotor. So that's what makes it different, because this is actually powering a propeller or a helicopter rotor on different types of aircraft. So it's not the engine that's creating thrust, it's one of those two things. and then after it hits up against there, it's released as exhaust. Okay, so here we are back at the beginning. I'm just going to show you where all these engines would go. So first you have your turbojets, which are mainly used, like they used to be the most widespread used of engines, but now there are better alternatives like the turbofan, which is used on mostly airliners. So your turbojets are mostly on military aircraft because they produce lots of thrust. You have your turbofans, which are on big airliners, and your turboprop and turboshaft engines. So the turboprop goes on airplanes, so prop as in propeller, and then your turboshaft because it's powering this shaft which spins the rotors. Alright guys, that's all. I hope you enjoyed the short video on how a jet engine works. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.